All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Reverend Kenneth Price on Sunday, August 11th, and I'm here with Reverend Dale Blackford. And we started off this Zoom call with a chuckle, which is what we should be doing. We all should be laughing because we're trying to get this screen behind us to match our freedom from suffering. So this is Dale Blackford's Sunday afternoon freedom from suffering Zoom call. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this introduction. This is our ministry. Dale and I came up with this brainchild last spring. We brainstormed names. We got together when he said, Kenneth, I'd like to start lecturing again. And I said, well, I'd like to start a ministry. So we started exchanging messages back and forth. What are we going to call it? What are we going to call it? And we came up with some really far out names until finally one of them landed. And the name that landed was 2ormorere1.com with the number 2. And I've known Dale for probably close to 15 years, if not more, and we've had synchronicity ever since then. So the Holy Spirit must be on our, basically says, you guys get together, do a collaboration. So this is our collaboration. This is our ministry. I have 2 Zoom calls of my own. I have one Wednesday. I call that Freedom from Flypaper. I have one Saturday. I call that Ego Backlash. And this is Dale's on Sunday, Freedom from Suffering. So Dale's just going to go and he's going to just share with us everything that he feels he's going to be able to channel this Sunday afternoon. And when I get my laptop fixed, I'll be going over this archive and pulling out shorts and pulling out. And that's when I get my laptop fixed, my video editing software. All right, so there's my introduction. Dale, let's hear what you have to say this Saturday. No, let's see what you have to say this Sunday.
Before we do that, does mine look backwards to you, like the printing and stuff?
Looks great to me.
Okay, no, this looks that way to me. All right, all right, all right. Okay, so we're on. Well, what's been I guess what's been coming up with you as far as this is the ego is my tour guide. Has anything been coming up with you on that?
Dale, my ego is talking in my head 24/7. And this is why I started the ministry. I started this ministry because I need to teach what I need to learn. Dale, I have got a 24/7, chatterbox that just doesn't stop. And it's actually waking me up. If it wasn't for that 24/7 chatterbox, then I wouldn't be doing this ministry. I'd be, busy remodeling homes and trying to become someone in this world. No, the ego is my tour guide. It's telling me, Kenneth, you're not that crazy mad voice inside of your head talking to itself, but you're going to have to get to work, kiddo. So I guess Dale, you spotted, you hit a nail on the head. Ego is my tour guide too. Am I ever going to stop that crazy mad voice, talking to itself inside of my head? Well, I'm 57 years old. I've done everything. I don't think it's going to stop. So I got to make peace with mine. And that's generally what all of your lectures are about, is how do we make peace with it? And in your vernacular, how do we make friends with it? How do we let it be our tour guide? This is why I listen to you every Sunday. This is why I review all of your videos, and it's why I edit them and get as much of this on the internet as possible, because I'm in the same boat.
Well, the impetus and for going that path, that's kind of interesting because when you look at Eckhart Tolle, he of course talked about a collapse where he said in The Power of Now, he said he was in suicidal depression and for a long time, and he said, I can't stand to live with myself anymore. That's kind of like that crashing addiction phase and how that happens, that dark night of the soul for me happened that way too. It crashed. And that creates opportunity then. Although like if someone was going to ask me how I could crash that, and that's the thing that I wonder about when I talk to people too, because the idea of crashing your seemingly psychic experience, whatever you call in your reality, you're crashing that. to explore what's beyond like what's beyond the doors behind the curtain. Uh, that's an interesting thing because I did not do that out of a sense of exploration. Like I thought, God, this would be. I mean, there was overall. Of course, has always been an overall one that says, I want to know. I mean, I want to know God. I mean, when I used to do, I think I did, What Color Is Your Parachute? That book 3 times in my life, and each time I did it, all the lists and stuff. Basically, I mean, they came up. Number one was to know myself as to know God, and that's been built into me. If you don't want to know God, I mean, if that's not really what's going on in your head, and I'm not saying you may not want to know God, but if what's tracking in your head is to know yourself in this um, cause and effect realm, and to know the avatar you've created, to know the sense of self that you created and how it functions in the world, which is pretty much what everybody's doing. Even the spiritual people that are taking Course in Miracles and all sorts of stuff, that's what they're doing. They're trying to hold on to their sense of self and get to know that sense of self with the strange false belief that somehow getting to know who you're not in a realm that is not real as far as your perception, that leads to reality. Well, everything that leads to reality, the thing about reality though is usually the way we come to reality is like the dark night of the soul, or like Eckhart Tolle, which is crash and burn. when when what you're trying doesn't work anymore, and you're starting to really get it. You're going like, I don't have, you don't have the juice for this. I've run out of options. What do I do? I mean, that's what Eckhart did. He's going like, I don't know what to do. I can't live with myself anymore. And then all of a sudden, insight, the door to insight opens up. The door to insight is always available, but you can't really you can't really hear it. You can't really notice it if your mind's preoccupied with reflecting upon your thought base, your stored imagery, your stored thinking, your stored beliefs as your basis. And if you're always in that place, because insight transcends that. It's like the you're building a house of sand on the rock. Insight's the rock. Thinking and reflection upon that thinking, even in the sense of spiritual nature and spiritual identity, is rock, is sand stuff. It's building on sand stuff. Um, to build on rock, it always gets down to letting go of the sand. You got to let go of the sand. And everybody tells you that you live in a world where it's built up around the fact like, no, 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 no. When the sand gets loose, the tough get firming it. They get firming it. They get too busy firming that sand and convincing themselves that the sand has become rock. It isn't rock, and it's just going to continue to you're going to continue to keep sinking in it because there's no support. There's no substan. I mean, there is support, but it's
Oh,
like,
Dale, can I stop right? I got to just a second. Affirm the sand is rock. I just had to put that in. That's going to be a soundbite. Keep going. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. If you affirm the sand is rock.
Sand is rock.
Yeah, it's really strange, because it's simple, like spiritual practice is really simple. It's about letting go and being available. I'm not saying it's easy though, because if the thing about letting go, like if you are invested in the sand, which everybody is, uh, awfully hard to let that go because everything about you, your ego still has a real, uh, it's still battling hard to get you to survive in it, because that's the task you gave it, was to survive in this realm of sand. And it's not going to be looking at you and giving you feedback like on the reality of sand. It's just going to be doing the best thing it knows from its from all the perceptions that you've seen in the world and the perceptions of other people have seen in the world. It's going to be giving you feedback on what seems to be the best way to firm up that sand. You know, like the seven effective. I mean, it cracks me up sometimes. The seven, what was that one by the seven effective or seven
Seven
strategies
habits
of
of
highly seven
effective
habits of
people.
highly effective people. Yeah, which is sand making.
Well,
You
let's
know,
can we stop there because I don't know about that, and I think that might be good for the Zoom call. Can you share with me what do they say are the seven habits of highly effective people? I'd like to know about that.
well, I'll have to look up there. It's been a long time since I even looked at that. A lot of
Because
it sounds really good, but again, it's back to Ashley Brilliant, where he's saying, your reasoning is excellent. It's only your basic assumptions that are wrong, that are flawed. That's where the flaw is. But let's see if I pull that up on this. Let me see here. Okay, seven. What is it?
yeah,
Seven habits of highly effective people. Okay, there it is. And the seven habits are: be proactive, begin with the end in mind. I mean, and I'll just start right there. Be proactive, okay? It's like proact is about taking responsibility for one's reactions to one's own experiences. But
well,
that's assuming that a reaction needs to be changed. I mean, to notice a reaction is very positive stuff. It's very powerful stuff to notice the belief structure about, that. But all this stuff is built, begin with the end in mind. I mean, how can you begin with the end? If you're going to begin with the end in mind, the only way you can see an end in mind, it's sand based. You can't see it in rock because rock is like infinite. It's infinite. It's all connected too. So you
so
can't
wait,
see the end in mind.
what was the first one again? Because I think I
Be
want to tie
be
this into
proactive. Be
yeah,
proactive.
be proactive on the sand. Be
Right. Yeah.
proactive on the sand.
Yeah. Which means you
Ah,
have to be able to. You have to be able to assess. Like you know, your mind's going to tell you what you need to do to change things and stuff like that. I mean, it always hits me like with when I go to the 12-step groups, we sit at the end and we say the serenity prayer, like God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And then we say keep coming back, it works. And then everybody pretty much says because what is it like? Because it works if you work it. And the reality is it works, period. If you don't work it, it works. This is the whole thing. Doesn't matter what you do. What matters is that you pay attention to what's going on inside you and in front of you. That's what matters. That changes everything. To pay attention to it, not to figure out whether it's right or wrong, because that's the realm of sand. That's the cause and effect karmic realm, and that's the one we created, that we formed, and built out of belief structure. And it's that's the one that Einstein says is the hostile universe. Says most important decision you make is whether you live in a friendly or hostile universe. If you live in a friendly universe, is it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't, even if you don't pay attention, because this is the whole thing. The thing's designed to bring that out of you. If you don't pay attention, that's not a bad thing, because that creates pressure, that creates attention. It creates attention. It creates the ability to see. And I'm got to get out of here a second. I'm not gonna, so I can see you.
oh,
So yeah, so it's like to be proactive. I mean, that's so silly. It's like to be proactive is like to assume that there's something you're supposed to be doing, or there's something that's better, something that, and it's like, how do you know that? How can anyone know that?
I don't
Other you
know.
can in the you can in the you can in the good bad, right wrong polar karmic realm, because there's laws about that, about what's good or what's bad. You know, that good is happy, bad is sad, or bad is pain. Good is love, bad is fear. they all work. I mean, you got to ask in the rock world, you don't look of why is fear instead of why would you replace love. You're looking at it and going like, wow, look what showed up here, fear. Boy, I'm gonna jump into this and look at that. Because you look at everything. You
No,
look at everything.
the reason I'm laughing is this morning my video software crashed, and so I can't edit this video. But you know what? I don't want to edit this video. I want to publish it from start to finish. Go ahead, because this is all gold. Keep going.
Well, and it's good yoga because like right now we're moving to another place, and I didn't realize how much, stress I have about moving because I tend to be someone that doesn't want to have a lot of things. Well, in the relationship I'm at here, we have a lot of things for what we have here. So it means like taking care of the things and stuff like that. And I start sucking into that thing about responsibility for things, where the reality is I have no responsibility for things. I mean, other than manifesting them and letting them de-manifest as they're called to do. Um, but then there's the thing about the struggle within the manifest realm that I'm identifying with as my avatar and self, underneath, in where the ego's living, and the ego's going like, we're doing some grind. Can you feel the grinding going on here? I'm going like, yeah, I can feel the grinding going on here. And I don't know any other better way than to end grinding than to figure out how you're going to do things that releases the pressure of the grind. And there's a part, and the ego's going, you feel me? You feel me on that? I'm going like, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And then the whole time I'm going like, something's off here. Something's off here. What is it off? Well, I'm grinding. I'm trying to figure out, creating a problem, trying to react to that stress that's in there. Oh, I see. I've had that build up in me. I need to look at that, don't I? Because I'm assuming it's the enemy. I'm assuming that something's wrong here, but it's not. It's where insight reveals itself. Insight reveals itself most clearly in hopeless sand situations. Like rock insight reveals itself when sand becomes insane. And so therefore, in the sand being insane, how bad can that be if it opens up rock consciousness and vision and insight,
Oh,
however, but if you're go ahead.
I got a name for the Zoom call. It's going to be called quicksand. Go ahead.
But it gets down to that. It's like, how do you want to you want to pretend the life you're living, or do you want to actually experience it? And you actually are experiencing it, even if you're pretending that you're not. But at some point you kind of wake up and you go, you have to kind of go there and say, boy, my sense of self and my ego and my avatar, batshit crazy, isn't it? Yeah, batshit crazy.
Build your house on rock instead of quicksand.
Yeah, build it on rock, And Jesus taught, Jesus does that analogy about, which is so great. It's like the winds come and stuff like that, and the sand house crashes. The rock one, you're sitting at the window, you're going like, wow, this is a lot of energy. God, this is cool. This is a lot of energy.
But here's where this is why I've wanted for years to get you on recording. Thank God, finally we've all got the technology, because as if there's a problem, we're supposed to build our house on quicksand. We're supposed to. Otherwise, we're just, I don't want to make that mistake. I don't want to. No, this is the thing that you told me 15 years ago. Have at it, Kenneth. Have at it. You've got to have the direct experience, Kenneth. These have got to be your mistakes. And I went out and I made all my mistakes. I built so many homes on quicksand that I finally collapsed like Eckhart Tolle. And now I'm here laughing with you 15 years later.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I don't know why it's been really hitting me, because I hadn't thought of it for a long time. We've been talking about it. So, and that's that Richard Bach on illusions. and that initial story of the creature that lives by the side and he gets dislodged in the stream of life. And and it's like that's the whole thing is you want the sand is you want to you got your neighbors, you got your family, you got your sense of who you are and what's dear to life, and you have it all kind of like packaged, and it's got some roots and stuff like that. And you're going to work on that, that's that you're going to work on it. And then, you even see the spiritual nature of it, and you think, well, you could label a part of it spiritual, like you got a nice house that's spiritual too. But then, the creature is interesting because I don't remember how the whole story goes, but he gets kicked out. He gets shaken loose, and then he's tumbling around in the stream as it's going, and he keeps popping up at different places along the stream where he meets other societies and things like, as I recall, other societies and other peoples and stuff like that. And he connects with them, and yet at the same time, he's still popping along, and he moves on and on and on. And that's why it's a beautiful life, because you meet but it's different. I mean, you're here to think that you're here to create something, to establish yourself, with your children, with your friends, with your family, you know all the time forgetting that, guess what, when the time comes for you to exit here, no one wants to look at that. They want to join a religion that says, oh, well, when you exit here, you actually meet up with all those guys and you go in this place in heaven where you're strumming harps together and you're saying, didn't we have a good life together? You were my dad, I was your son, that kind of stuff. And God's sitting there going like, oh, it's a lot better than that. We kick out the jams. What do you mean it's a lot better? Oh, there's none of that. There's none of that. It's just like you're one, and you're going through everything and experiencing it all the time. You're well, that sounds like I'm God. Yeah, you're getting close now. You're getting close now. Because yeah, you're not the avatar, you're not the limited avatar that needs to be saved. You're actually the God of the universe as one with all, and all that is the God of the universe. So that floats, that whole way of living like that. And it's really simple, because you're looking, and people even on the side, they'll enlist with you as you kind of pass through, and they'll say, well, maybe we should do this could be a problem. And you could say, I don't think it's a problem, because I think everything's moving and everything's going to change here. I don't even know if what you see as you and me and the relationship we have has any, that's going to dissolve away. Space time will dissolve away. But even the sense that that's the reality, that this is who you and I are, where, like I talked last week where the guy touched me on the shoulder, and he said, it was like he was saying, my friend, we were talking, he was saying like that, this is like what's substantial. It could touch me, and it's like we're one. And I said to him, I said, yeah, I said, I know, but I like that feel, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I just know it's whole and it's free and it's good. But I can't sit here and write a page or a book or something about friendship or about relationships. I don't have any idea what that is, because all of that goes back to being proactive. The first step in the 7 habits of a highly effective people. Be proactive. What? Be proactive to claim and better and more control, solidify the illusion of who you think you are and the sand creature and world that you live in, and be a powerful sand creature. Don't be a weak sand creature. Be a powerful one. Why? Actually, the weaker ones would be better, because they reach the point where they go, this ain't working. The powerful ones go like, oh, I'm going to pass this on to my kids. I'm going to pass this all on to my kids, and I'm going to write a book about it, about how it's reality. It's just like, it's goofy. It's just goofy. You sit there, and I don't argue against the logic. I don't argue against people doing that. I just look at that and I go like, for instance, be proactive. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, I'm loving. I'll take suggestions. How the hell do I be proactive about anything? I think I am proactive. I'm alive. God is going through me. I'm kind of unconsciously proactive. Yeah, but I'm getting more and more aware. And being unconsciously proactive is not a bad thing. It's certainly much richer than being consciously, limitedly proactive to a small sand relativity, a small sand world, a small sand family, a small sand individuality. That is pretty locked in. So yeah, so like
Oh,
But I look at all that. I mean,
this
go
sermon
ahead.
is a breath of fresh air. Keep going. I needed to hear this. Oh, this is wonderful. Keep
Well,
going.
if you go, I mean, it's pretty simple. It breaks out. If I go back here again, like look at the 7 habits. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. I know when something's not true because I go right away. I go like, it isn't like I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I go like, I don't understand it. How could you begin with the end of what in mind and why? I don't get it. Put first things first. I mean, what do you mean put first things first? I don't know what's going on. How could I put first things first? How could I tell what's urgent? I mean, in space time, everything says, well, there's an order, things like that. But when you're in rock mentality, open mentality, the only thing that's first is what's right before you in the moment. No time, no space. It's right before you. And are you going to put that first? Well, if not, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to your past or the illusion of your past or the future and go, oh, well, let's see if we can find some firsts in that. Well, if you become more and more aware, you realize that you don't have juice for that. You don't have faith in that. You have nothing there. The only thing that's first is what's right there. Uh, then the next three about, oh God, I mean, it gets really weird to me. Think win-win. Oh God, I cannot even I cannot, it's to me, it's so clear that I can't comment on that. Think win-win. I mean, well, you're back to karma because if there's a win, what else is there? There's a
There's
loss.
a lose.
Yeah, it's like it's not think win-win. It's like if you're going to think win-win, basically what you're thinking is win loss, win loss. That's what you're thinking, not win win. You're thinking win loss, win loss. And I'm going to choose win. I'm going to do my best to do win. And you're stuck in it. But then it says seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that I get that. That's kind of like a I don't know what the word is.
Well, I mean, there's got to be. The reason I'm laughing is because I had a friend who was a Buddhist monk once, and all he would say to me is, "How's that working for you, Kenneth? How's that
Well,
working for you?"
yeah. Right. I mean, what if like Krishnamurti shows up in the middle of this class and he's doing a workshop on the seven habits of highly effective people, and he sits there and says, and Krishnamurti says, "Well, teacher, I got a problem. What's that?" Well, I don't mind what happens.
Krishnamurti in a class of 7 highly effective people. I wish I had my video software was working. I'd love to get some shorts out of
Wouldn't
this.
that
Keep
be? He'd be
going.
sitting. He wouldn't be debating. He'd be go like, "Can you help me out here? Because how do you integrate these habits when you don't mind what happens? When everything is absolutely bliss, can be bliss. Everything is blissful. Everything is orderly. Everything is perfection expressing itself. So why am I going to task on it? What am I building here? Well, you're building a nice little friendly sand castle with a sand person who lives in it and sand families. And that even in spite of sand mentality, you kind of know, maybe you don't want to face it, but you kind of know that at the end of this, like the death part, all the sand just goes back down. You don't take sand with you. Anything of the sand you don't take with you. Well, I'll meet my father there. I'll meet my mother. Like really? You want to you want to take what's hostile about this world and you want to project it into the freedom that you just got of letting it all go. You're going to project it into that so that it's like that's all your relatives and all the problem, all the bitching and moaning and everything that was there, all the territorial stuff and all that, it's there too now. And it's like, yeah, but now we're with God, so we've been touched by a magic wand that says those things don't matter anymore. Then if they don't matter, why are we still hanging on to our individuality separate from each other? Why are we doing that? I don't know. I don't mind what happens. So at any rate, that's the kind of, yeah, that's kind of where it gets. And then so the whole thing with So when you're doing spiritual practice, this is really when it gets to the rubber meets the road, where because we're really working about reactions and how you use your mind, because that's where we get, we don't get trapped by anything. We get trapped in our perceptions. That's where pain and suffering and everything happens, is in our perceptions. Even what looks as physical pain, that's a condition of perception, because we know, at least after you get a little bit wiser for a while, that everything of the formed world is a manifestation of the essence. It's
And
just a manifestation of it, a
let me
form
do
of
a
it.
quick interjection. Because above your head and above my head are three words: freedom from suffering.
Right.
And this is the trail of breadcrumbs out of the dark forest. And behind us, there's a picture of on my left, there's a chain, and on my right, there are birds flying, and behind us, there's a sun. This is freedom from suffering. Keep going.
Yeah, freedom from, because we want so freedom from suffering. People think that, well, the real is to think better sand thoughts, have a better sand consciousness. That's what all the workshops and all the books and everything are about, like have a better sand consciousness. Nobody wants to admit that, but that's what it is. But actually, freedom from suffering is to release the whole realm of sand, the whole realm of it. And you can, and we're in this, that Jesus said he said, be in this world, but not of it. I mean, I don't think he said that I don't think he made the goal to be in the world. I think he could look at his disciples and everybody around him and say, look, I'm going to give this in two parts. First part, you got down. You have no problem with this. Easy peasy. And that is, ready for this? You don't have to write it down even. And that is, be in this world. That's no problem. You know how to do that. You're in this world. You're in this world. I mean, there's no problem. And I'm telling you, this is the key to freedom from suffering: is be in this world. Be
Be in
in
this
it,
world,
fully in it, fully in it.
fully in it.
Right? Yep. Here's the second part. This one's tougher, but not of it. Be in it, but don't be of it. In other words, it's all just passing by. It's not you. It's not your nature. It's not your identity. It's not anything other than the movement of spirit of the whole, moving around through perception. You can even perceive what you want when you're in the world. But to be of it, you have to at some point go, I'm just playing a game here. This is the ride. This is how you play. It's like a video game. This is how you play the game. You pretend that you're the guy with the gun, going around shooting and creating and solving the problems. That's who you are. But the reality is you're not. You're the one that's watching the whole thing. You're part of the operator, yeah, but you're also watching the whole game itself. And
Perfect.
you're
Let's gonna stop you right there. So we're watching this. This is the whole premise of our ministry. I've been doing Zoom calls and editing videos. And I had a teacher, I reached out to it, and all he wanted me to do was say, you don't need to do all the mind training in this moment. You just need to ask, who's the one? Who is the one? The one.
right.
And what I'm hearing from you is that's the purpose of spiritual practice, to know that we're not the one who's building the house on sand. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, in a way, but it's like I'd even give it's friendlier than that even. And that is that we're pretending we are the one that's building it. That's being of the world. Being in the world is we're pretending that we are building it. And that's okay. That because we're not it, we're not of it. We're just it's like, if you want to play the game, play the, or if you have to play the game because that's where all of us are at some sense, then play the game, play it fully. But you'd be wise to realize that it's a game. If you don't, and it's not a reality. So when you start talking about, freedom from suffering, and you talk about spiritual growth and things about that spirit that talks about, like freedom, you got to look at this and go, well, how do I tweak being in the world to be a freedom in the world? And it's like, here's where you're crossing the line. Here's where you're instead of being not of it, you're being in this world and you're being of it.
Being of
You're going
it.
to be in this world and you're going to be of it. That's still not hell. That's still not the end of anything. It's just the creation of some really serious suffering. That's all it is. And suffering works. Suffering causes release. Back to Tolle and Dark Night of the Soul stuff. It causes release, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you might be, at some point you're going to have to recognize that it's not creating the bliss and the freedom. Even when you create a little bliss, you decorate a little bit of corner of the sandcastle with some blissful paintings or blissful money or blissful sex or something like that. You got to go, well, yeah, but this whole thing is not blissful. It's really, really hostile, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, how else could you explain this one? We're love. We care. We know that we're love. We know that we're all in this together, and the love is immense, and it's just we're one in that. Yet in this world, we're separate, and it's dog eat dog. It's dog eat dog. I mean, that ought to tell you what this place is. Even if you're saying, yeah, but I'm really working to not be a dog, and I'm trying to help dogs out. It's like, yeah, but you're in the dog eat dog, whatever, whether you're saving them or whatever. You're not a dog. They're not a dog. We're one. We're one. Now, how does that happen? Now, to start doing that, you gotta be not in this world. I mean, you can be in this world, yes. That's why when the friends one time they were talking about how the ego was evil. That's if you're talking about the ego being evil or it's a problem or something like that, you certainly are not being in this world. You're transgressing the first one. You're getting real convoluted, like taking a false sense of what as while you're in the world and you're crafting some sort of spiritual treatment, and you're saying, well, I'm going to go back into the world and use that treatment on being in the world, and I'm gonna make that better. And it's like Jesus is sitting there going, you're not getting the point here. Be in the world. When in Rome, do as Rome. Don't worry about it. Do it. But don't be of it, because if you're of it, you can't observe it. If you're of it, you can't observe it. You just be too busy trying to fix it. You can't see insight when your head is all filled of repetitious perception. How are you going to see insight if it's coming up to you, hitting again across the head? If you're going like, I'm busy here. I'm busy here. I'm busy figuring this out. It's like, no, you can't figure it out. It's insane. You've already figured it out. And it is like, this is how it runs. This is how it works. This is how it works.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump in real quick. You know why I'm really thrilled about this particular call that we're doing is because you have brought in two separate teachers and you've threaded them together. And this is why your Dale, your lectures, your sermons, your satsangs have always been a breath of fresh air to me. Number one, you mentioned Krishnamurti, and number two, you're mentioning Jesus. You're taking, and you are a unity minister. So you are taking this symbol of Jesus, which has historically been misunderstood, misrepresented, misquoted, and you're tying them in with Krishnamurti. Now this
Yeah,
is a synthesis. Keep going.
yeah, it's the same. But like now, if you get down to the practicality of how this works, this is why I spend a lot of time on this first part of it, because to be in the world is no small thing as far as capturing your attention. To be in the world captures a person's intention. The reality is though you can actually watch that happen. You're not being captured. You can actually reach a point where you go, oh, you can watch your character that you've created be enslaved by it, and you can still watch it, which shows you the freedom that you're just being in the world. You're not enslaved to it. You're just do it. You have to start to see that, because if you don't see, I mean, this is the thing about teaching, I think, for this stuff. Very few people at this point in the world are capable of being in this world and not of it. Even in
Yeah,
the smallest,
let's
even
touch
in the
that.
smallest point, even in the smallest way, to be in this world but not of it. Because to be not of it is to recognize not only the potentiality, but the uh, the necessity, not even the necessity, the nature of collapse. That you know, and it rises and it falls. Always, it falls. And if you look at your life like rising and falling, that's scary. That means everything you do to build it up is going to collapse. Who's going to want to look at that? And especially if you're really invested, which people are, in building it up, doing the best they can to hedge their bets. But you have to somehow start to see that. And if you're loving, when you start really doing this on a basic level, that's the real. I think that's the first step of love. The love is to love yourself being in this world and recognizing that you're just getting a glimpse that you're not of it and you don't know what the hell to do about that. And that's a great thing. That's a beautiful thing, because if you really start thinking later on, every time you think you know what to do about it, you're solidifying your stance in the world. You're solidifying your stance in the world. So if you're in it and you start to just get a glimpse, that this is what Jesus is saying: know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Now, when your ego is wrapped around this at first, like this is why people say it's evil or something like that. When your ego is wrapped around it, and directing you like that, you haven't really done a lot of that, like recognizing that you're not of the world. The ego is just like going to scream at you. That's when the ego is screaming at me in the shower, going like, what are you going to do? You're seeing that I was seeing that. The seeing that I was seeing that I was not of the world. And it's going like, what the hell? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What about money? What about job? What about this? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And of course, my response was in the shower. I'm going like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I just know that I'm seeing something, and I'm just unconsciously going, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And to the point that where, my person who owns the house is saying, what the hell are you saying in the shower? And I'm going, I'm not saying anything in the shower. And I finally hear it and I go, oh, I am saying something in the shower. I'm answering my ego. My ego is going like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this problem? What you go, just so fast. And I'm going like, because I don't know. All I can say is, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't going like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I was going like,
And
okay.
can
I was
I
going, I don't
can I
know. I don't know. I
can
don't
I
know.
I want to stop you real quick, because if I do get my video editing software, I know exactly what I'm going to put across the screen, because I've been, I'm my credentials are with Living Church Ministries. I'm a student of David Hoffmeister, who's follows the Course in Miracles, and in order to become become an ordained minister with his ministry, I had to follow him for years, and just jump through all of his hoops. And the bottom line in that ministry is we're supposed to live from the I don't know mind. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're bringing into the Zoom call in the shower. This is perfect, Dale. You didn't need to study the Course in Miracles. And this is what I want this ministry. I want this ministry to tie in all these different paths with the Course in Miracles, because you just said it. You're living in the I don't know mind. And
Right.
this
And
was
then
how you got to it.
well, and then this is the next step. Like I said, the first thing is you can see that the I don't know position is actually quite brilliant and quite real. Even though you're immersed in, I gotta figure it out, I gotta figure it out, I gotta figure it out. You can see that, but then the next step comes with your thinking, and this is where everything gets real weird, because people think that you should need to change your thinking. Well, all you need to do is continue the thinking of I don't know, where now you're starting to go like you're seeing that your ego is telling you to do things like that. If you want to start opening that door, if you can open that door, what will come next will be a part of you that will say, no matter what's going on, even if you're involved in doing it and everything like that, you're in the world, you're okay. But a part of you, every time everything comes up, a problem or a situation or a judgment about it, anything like that, anything that your mind's reflecting on about the situation that you're in the world of, you're going to end up doing something extraordinary. And that is, I learned it through studying some of Byron Katie's stuff, where it became a thing where first a question, then an affirmation, then an overall giving into an operating system was already in me, the spiritual operating system. And that was no matter what the thought, no matter what the intention, no matter what the belief, no matter what anything like that is, problem or anything like that, fear, I'd sit there and I go, I wouldn't deny the fear or anything like that, but I'd go, I don't really know that this means what I think it means, do I? No, you don't. That's really, really powerful because then eventually the ego, I told you about it, it got on board with me finally, where I was going like, it basically was looking at that I was real about that I was going, I really don't know that this means what I think it means. And it was telling me what it said was real and what I had to do about it. And then it's going like, you find it's going like, you can't, you can't, it didn't even say you're not going to. It said, you can't do anything about this, can you? What the ego's going like, what I'm seeing, you can't do anything about this, can you? And I go, no, I can't. I can't even see it. I really can't. Every time I look at it, all I see is I don't know what's going on here. It's safe, but I don't know what's going on here. It's safe, but I don't know. I'm floating in that stream, the illusion stream, and I'm just tumbling downstream, and I'm going like, yeah, everything's going by. People are saying you need to do something, or you're going to drown, or you'll go to hell, or whatever. Your life will be suspect, or whatever. And I'm going like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm doing first things first, according to Covey. First things first, which is I'm floating in this as it takes me now in the moment. And as you practice that, as you practice learning to think like that, like to go to be in the world, and you can have all the perception, but then that's all the little stuff, really. And then there's this big envelope that you're holding the whole thing in that says, yeah, but I don't know that this means what I think it means, do I? And that frees you too, because then even all the stuff like, what are you going to do? Blah, 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 that your mind's all occupied. It's like all of a sudden there's this great big window because you can't get on board not hearing it. I'm not saying not hearing it, not, that's okay. But you're not acting to it. You're not reacting to it. You're not, or even if you do react to it, and if you even come to a point that says, I need to do something about this, something's changed where you go, wait a minute, I don't even know that this means what I think it means. How can I have any faith to do anything about it? And it's like, oh, yeah. And that's when the ego got on board more, eventually saying, what's going to happen to us because you're defeating my purpose of teaching you to survive in the sand castle, in the sand room, in the sand land, from a sand position. And I'm going like, yeah, I know, I'm in a rock here, I'm in a rock place, but that rock's pretty solid, so we'll be okay. And then eventually the ego's going like, well, I was made of sand. Do I even have any reason to exist anymore? And I'm going like, well, we're in this world. We're in this world. Of course you do. You're the king of the sand. What do you mean? You're the king of the sand. I am? It says, yeah, you just have to know that just because you're the king of the sand doesn't mean I'm going to respond to, any choices or things about what you're seeing. I can hear you. That's a great thing to hear you, to know the truth that makes us free. But I can't do anything about it. And you know that, right? It's just going, yeah, I got that from you. And then eventually it starts doing what for whatever by my awareness, seeing that. It isn't like it does it. My awareness starts to see that the ego now is doing things like, reaching down there and going like, do you realize how attached and fearful you are around this move stuff? What is that? And all the things about you think, what do you think that means? Like, what do you think what's the worst case scenario that you're afraid of right now? What are you seeing that's causing this? And I look at those and I go, this, that, and that. And I go, I don't know that, do I? I don't know anything like that. Am I okay right now? Yeah. Are things moving? And then, of course, that's what happens is you get people coming up to you and saying things, and everything starts changing. It's like all because you can't participate with the madness. It isn't like you resist the madness. You just show up like a little child, go, to the ego, goes, are you going to get on board with this madness? And we're going to go to work here, Stephen Covey style or something. I'm sorry to pick on Stephen, but he was so like big on it. And it's like, yeah, you're going to do this. And it's like, you sit there and going like, no, 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 I can't do that. I don't have the skills to do that. or whatever you want to call it. I don't have the vision. I don't have the skills. I don't have the juice to do that. So won't be doing that. Won't be doing that. And then that's when you're not participating in this so much reflection. And when you're not participating in reflection so much, guess what? You're available for new insight. That's the only way you're available for new insight is to, it isn't like stopping the mind. It's stopping your reflection upon the mind. That's what it is stopping your reflection upon the mind. The mind's going to do what, it's going to reflect and pull up stuff or things like that. But if you can stop your reflection, like going like, oh, well, this is not, I'm to see this is my part. I'm to see it. Yeah, 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 yeah. But are you available to see some, God's Spirit's going, are you available to see some insight? And I'm going like, well, yeah, I got nothing else to do here. I'm certainly not going to task on anything. I got all kinds of this. I got this moment to see whatever's here. And of course, insight is there all the time. It isn't like it just shows up. It's like all of a sudden you can see it, and you're going like, "Oh, I'm all right, aren't I? Not, I'm better than all right. Everything's working, isn't it?" And this stream is beautiful, actually, and the people I'm meeting along the way is beautiful. And I don't need to know where it's going, do I? Because I know it's all in the bliss of the universe. And that's what the course. Why I like the Course in Miracles. Why I read it. I like the Course in Miracles. Is that every time I read the Course in Miracles, it doesn't matter. I'm not a student of the Course in Miracles. I never did that. But I was never really a student of much of anything, even Gospel according to Thomas. I just would start to read things and I'd go, oh yeah, 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 I know that. Every time I read the course, most places I'd read it. Even Tolle would be talking about going to task against genocide, and I'd be sitting there going like, using his skills on his awakening to go to task against genocide. And I'd sit there and I go, I think you're back in the world here, buddy. I don't think this is not of the world. I think this is in the world. Are you seeing that? And I was seeing he was not seeing that. So that kind of is where that part kind of broke off for me with Tolle in that places. He was still working on that. Doesn't mean it's bad, but I was going like, oh, I don't see that. But I'd read the course, and the course would be like, it didn't matter what I read. I'd be going like, man, that's spot on. That is spot on. It never would throw a little curve. I never saw it being adulterated by the attachment to the world and the situation of the world that it saw. I never saw that ever happening in the course. I haven't read every page in the course, but after you read enough things for a while, you get the sense that no, that's why if I go to Course in Miracles groups and they say stuff like that about like the ego is evil or something like that, I'd be sitting there going like, uh, excuse me, are we in Course in Miracles here or not? I'm kind of lost here. This sounds like it sounds like we went into another somebody's personal chapter here, right? Is that what we're doing? And that's okay, but I wouldn't call that being in the world, not of the world. I definitely call that being of the world. There's in the world and not of it, and there's in the world and being of it. And it's good to see that, see which is which, because that's truth. That it goes. Oh, okay. Anyway, enough said.
I can't wait to watch the archive, Dale. This has been my favorite one. I don't know how long we've been doing this, 2 months or something like this. And it's taken this man a long time to get up to speed, because I had to get the website and to get the video editing software, and then I moved to Mexico. But finally, Dale, this is all coming together. I think this has been the best sermon that I've because it tied in so much. And I'm not even gonna try and provide a synopsis. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna tell the YouTube audience, if you are watching this on YouTube, leave your comments below. This has been Freedom from Suffering with Reverend Dale Blackford.
Well, and especially, I've said some things that really rub the be in the world of it mindset, because I know that mindset. So those kind of questions about the confusion about being in this world and of it, and being in this world and not of it, and how that plays out, and is there practicality to that? Excuse me, practicality to that? I'd really love to see questions about that. I mean, I'd love to have questions that say, how can you say those kind of things? And then because of this, I would really like to address those kind of things because that would be telling me that we could move into places where we could do some, we could, sprout some freedom. Yeah.
And and I want to bring that up before I wrap this up, because Dale has been saying for years to start a community and community building, and that's exactly what he's requesting, right? He's requesting comments down below. And this video is going to get much more hits than the other ones, because now that I know how to do meta tags and I know how to do all the different things, I'm going to start getting on board with it. So this has been Reverend Kenneth Price and Reverend Dale Blackford on Sunday, August 11th, Freedom from Suffering. And we're here at every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It'll all be down in the description of this YouTube video. So that's it. Dale, thank you, Dale. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. This is good. Yeah, this is a good one. Yeah.
I just love
I
doing
like
this.
it
And
too.
I do this for myself because I needed to hear all that. So let's see if I can end this, do the record. God bless everybody. Much love, and may the force be with you.